The photograph moved around the house like a curse. Sometimes under Dovile's mattress, edges curling. Sometimes hidden in Lina's drawer. Sometimes in the attic, gathering dust. The wall seemed to lean inward, listening. In it, her parents laughed beside a 6-year-old girl with round cheeks and trusting eyes. 10 years ago the car had slid on black ice into the river. The report said alcohol. Whispers said her mother's final scream had been aimed at her father. Dovile never asked which was true. She only knew the house she was delivered to smelled of mothballs and something sharper, resentment that had been waiting. Aunt Lina opened the door that night with tight lips and eyes already counting costs. She sold her dead husband's rifle for funeral lilies, then reminded everyone of the sacrifice for years. Double shifts at the mill left her hands stained with dye, her temper frayed, and her migraines a daily punishment she blamed on the child. When Dovile was 8, she woke screaming from a nightmare and ran to Lina's bed. Lina, half asleep and grieving her own childless life, shoved her away hard enough that Dovile hit the floor. "I'm not your mother," Lina snapped. Voice raw. The next morning she apologized with extra porridge and a hug that lasted too long, as if trying to erase the bruise blooming on the child's arm. In the brittle silences that followed, Lina sometimes took up her needles and the half-finished green scarf, soft wool the color of pond algae, knitting absent-mindedly while staring at nothing. 3 years later, Lina finally kept a promise. She took Dovile to the parents' grave on a grey autumn afternoon, the first and only time. They stood in silence. Wind rattled the leaves. Lina's eyes filled, genuine tears for her lost sibling. Dovile almost reached for her hand. Then Lina muttered, "Your father was weak. That's why this happened." Dovile turned, fists clenched. "You never even liked them. You only brought me here so the village would see what a good woman you are." The ride home, silence. Thick. Suffocating. Lina's hand shook on the wheel. Dovile stared out the window and didn't speak for weeks. By 10, the sweets vanished from the cupboards. Wrappers turned up behind Dovile's radiator. She swore through tears she hadn't touched them. Lina's face twisted. "You little liar." Fingers dug into Dovile's shoulders. Hard. Marks lingered. "I work myself to death for you, and this is how you repay me." Dovile shrank. But the rage glowed. Hot. Permanent. The years thinned along with Dovile's body, each meal a skirmish, each silence a siege. The fights came in waves. Plates left without a word. Dovile picking at one potato. Pushing it away. Then, was shatter. A note from school. A neighbor's pitying casserole on the step, with murmured condolences, old Mrs. Petroritis lingering at the gate, whispering to another, "That poor woman, saddled with the sister's mess, girls turning wild already." Truce broken. Once, after such a casserole, Lina cornered Dovile. Spoonful of stew forced toward her mouth. The spoon scraped Dovile's teeth, metal cold against enamel. "Eat! Damn you! Stop making me the monster!" Dovile spat it out. Gagged. Shoved the bowl. It exploded against the wall. Plaster dust sifted down like ash whenever voices rose, as if the house itself exhaled in disgust. Screams until voices gave out. Lina's migraine thundering. Dovile fainting, starvation and fury colliding. They carried their stories to the village. Lina at the shop, voice cracking. She steals. Lies. Screams at me. I'm at my wit's end. Dovile at school, thighs downcast. She only took me to the grave once. To look good. Forgets food on purpose. A teacher visited. Concerned. Left red-faced, Lina's tears, Dovile's quiet accusations. Parcels grew fewer. Relatives stopped calling. The village watched. Whispered. Fed the fire. On misty evenings, passing the house, neighbors muttered, both of them cursed. Mark my words, the girl's wasting away on purpose, and Lina is paying for sins not her own. The hunger battlefield. Dovile skipped meals. Punish Lina. Punish herself. Punish the spoiled promise. Once, rage boiling, she found the half-finished green scarf. Unraveled 3 rows. Threw it down. Lina discovered it. Reknitted. Fingers shaking. Said nothing. Migraines worsened. Lina raged alone. Needles flew. Ungrateful parasite. Then, stop. Face pressed into wool. Sobs until throat raw. Hating tears. Hating the girl. Hating the empty life that made her knit anyway. Some nights the house pulsed. Fury accumulated. Doors slammed. No hand. Old arguments echoed, cracked records from years ago. Bruises bloomed, childish fingerprints on Lina's arms. Adult fingers on Dovile's wrists. New marks bloomed on Dovile's wrists, small, childish fingerprints, purple and precise. At 3 a.m. fridge creaked open. Food moved. One bite taken. Whose teeth? Neither admitted. And sometimes, faint clicking, knitting needles in empty rooms. They circled. Wounded. Unstoppable. One evening, Dovile 16. Lina home half frozen. Furious. Another note. Another casserole. Found Dovile in kitchen. Skeletal under harsh bulb. Staring into open fridge. Daring it. You selfish little bitch. Words exploded. Years of pressure. Voice hoarse. Hands trembling, worsened tremor. Look at you. Victim? You've made my life hell since you arrived. Dovile turned. Slowly. Ribs sharp. Pulse fluttering at throat. Trapped moth. Hair falling in clumps, stress pulling it out. Voice barely air. You noticed. Snap. Pan in hand. The handle still warm from the stove, grease slick under Lina's trembling fingers. Rose. Fell. Rose again. Dull. Wet. Final. Lina collapsed. Beside the body. Hand slick. Blood. Howl tore out, grief. Triumph. Terror. Rocked until dawn. Whispered, I'm sorry, you deserved it, come back. Village heard, troubled girl sent away. Lina never corrected. House did not quiet. Light footsteps. Fridge open. Closed. Mirrors fogged, iron breath, old arguments. Faint clicking of needles. Rose added to the scarf overnight, the green darker somehow, wetter, as if dyed in something thicker than wool. Lina's appetite gone. Food, ash. Accusation. Body followed, cheekbones knives. Eyeshadow. Hair thinning. Bruises fresh, childish on arms, adult on wrists. One night, unfinished scarf from drawer. Wrapped around her neck. Delirium. It tightened. Slightly. Or imagined. One dawn, mirror. Dovile's skeletal face superimposed. Huge eyes, accusing. Forgiving. Waiting. Lina reached. Fingers trembling. Glass cold. Then, for an instant, warmer. She pulled the photograph from under her pillow, moved there in the night, and stared. Two parents smiled forever. Between them, the faint outline of a child, only the shadow cast by two people who had loved and hated each other until neither could tell the difference. The house settled deeper into silence, still hungry.